Welcome to Undercomplicating Stuff, where we, two psychologists with a combined 40 years of experience, share our insights to undercomplicate important topics. Friendly reminder as we get started that this is for conversational entertainment purposes only. If you want some resources, please see the description below this video. And Stacey, Dr. Gedeon, do you want to do an introduction?
Sure. Thanks, Julie. I'm Stacey Gedeon. I'm a health psychologist and also the founder of a healthcare consulting and professional coaching business. How about you, Dr. Radico?
So, Julie Radico, I'm a psychologist, a coach, author, and a speaker, and I co-authored a book called You Will Get Through This. It's a mental health toolkit with two other remarkable mental health clinicians, and it's in lots of local libraries around the country. So, diving into our question for today, our question is, what might be one reason I'm struggling to actually make a change? And I'm mindful with this question that there's like lots of things that we could talk about related to like behavior change and what might get in the way. One of the things that I find working with clients is sort of like this hidden barrier at times, which is ambivalence.
Mm,
So I'll find that people will come and they'll say, I'm really interested in getting promoted at work. And then we start to dig in a little bit, and they are listing for me some reasons why they want to do that and pursue promotion, and then many reasons why they don't want to pursue promotion. And so often then we get into this conversation of what what might be like the result of having, what the scales aren't all in one direction.
mhm.
There's stuff on both sides, and it comes down to this like ambivalence, this sort of like middle space of I'm not sure what I
Right.
want to do. What's your experience with ambivalence?
Yes, I agree. I have a lot of people that come to me that I work with, and of course, have experienced it myself. And it's sort of like to describe it, it's almost like an unsettled tug of war, kind of mixed feelings in your
Mm.
gut that it's sort of, I do want to change and pursue this thing, I think, but there's a part of me that really doesn't want to, and really normalizing it for ourselves and for other people. And then helping people to really focus on, okay, what might be going on? Why am I not 100% on board? And so let's say we think of a situation in a workplace where someone has the opportunity to become promoted. And they've always thought this would be great. The pros might be it's more income, it's growth, which they're really happy about. Um, and then there's the, well, I don't know. And then exploring that could be anything from lack of confidence, also maybe just the fear of change, and that's uncomfortable, or the risk of something different. Or maybe even, let's say, they're concerned about what their relationships will be like with their coworkers now that they're being elevated. So I'm wondering, what are some other examples or areas that people have come to you or that you've experienced with ambivalence?
Yeah. I think as both of us have experience working in the health
Mhm.
area prior, common examples that listeners might resonate with are people will have difficulty quitting a behavior or
Mhm.
starting a behavior. So they might, have trouble quitting smoking or vaping or reducing alcohol consumption or, stopping drinking or starting to exercise more, increasing their exercise. That there's a lot of examples of things that we as human beings try to change in our lives that really we might consciously feel like we're all in
Mhm.
on. Like, yeah, I want to, eat healthier. And then there's other parts of us that go, I thought it was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to eat healthier. And then to really make this change, I don't know, like maybe there are some barriers or things that I'm not all in on. Like my friends only go to this one place that only serves really unhealthy food, but
Mhm.
that's the time that we bond. And so there's meaningful reasons that I might not want to make this change or commit to it all the way. Um, I'm curious, like, as we think about sort of, yeah, some of the like science or
Mhm.
research kind of stuff, like what what are your thoughts or what might you explain to clients or have them consider when they say to you, like, oh my gosh, why am I dealing with this
Mhm.
ambivalence? Like, where is this coming from?
That is a great question. And I think it does help to provide some education without getting too jargony with things. Um, and so there is a model of change that's been around for a very long time. Some call it, the trans theoretical model. So it's not related to any, particular type of orientation if you're thinking of therapy. Um, Prochaska and Di Clemente. I usually botch that. But yeah, so some different stages of change that can kind of help you or help if you're the helper, help others sort of sort out where they might be. And depending upon where they are with their stage of change, there are kind of different interventions. And the goal is not to go from, pre-contemplation where people usually aren't even aware there is an issue or have absolutely no desire to change an issue. So a common example where the model kind of comes from is substance use area. So maybe someone thinks they don't have an issue, all the way down to contemplation. I might need a change, but I'm not sure. Preparation, getting ready to act, action, going into action, maintenance, and then relapse or lapsing. So we all do it. We all start out with these, different things we might change, notably at the beginning of the year. And then things may fall by the wayside. And I think helping people to understand that that's normal, and also knowing that you're limited to make other people change. You can't do that, but you might be able to guide someone from one stage of change to the very next. And I'm wondering what experiences you've had with sort of helping people understand that framework, and what you'd recommend.
Yeah, I love and just feel in my bones the you can't make somebody
Mm.
move through the stages or make a change if they're not ready to. And that includes ourselves, right? We might try to really convince ourselves, no, I know that there's reasons that I'm ambivalent, but like I just should, like shoulding on
Yes.
ourselves. Like I should be able to make this change. I should be able to push past it. I should, oh, like just recognizing and being kind to ourselves that we, at any point in thinking that we're ready or wanting to make a change, maybe we're in the action step. We are fully pursuing a promotion, and we then start to realize, oh, there's some things that I didn't realize were like really weighing down. Well, I don't know that I'm 100% in this. Like the things that I encourage people to consider here two things. One, being kind to yourself and
Mm.
to others in the fact that like they might not be at the awareness level that you are. They might not, want to change. And along with that, rolling with resistance.
Mm.
I know we talk about this, like arguing with yourself or with others when there's this ambivalence is not going to be effective. The encouraged strategy is to come alongside that person and roll with the resistance. What could I do to help you explore
Hmm.
the feelings that you're having on both sides of this? Because none of us know the perfect magic words to make somebody feel all in if they're not all in. I'm curious, Stacey, because I know you've talked about a strategy before that I think is brilliant. Like what might you encourage people to do when they come to you and they're like, well, how do I weigh out all this stuff?
I love that, to give people some strategies. A lot of people will say, "Well, I tried the pros and the cons," and then the lists are even. And we might go a step further and say, okay, well, are they weighted differently? Is one of more importance? But that can get kind of messy. Another strategy is to do what's called sort of a decisional balance. So there are sort of four questions you would ask yourself about a change. And let's say we're looking at the promotion example. So spending some time thinking about what is the best thing that would happen if I don't take action and really journal about that. And a lot of people don't think of it in that way. The next question is, what's the worst thing that would happen if I do nothing, don't take any action, don't upset the apple cart? The third question is, what's the worst thing that would happen if I do make this change? So
Mm,
again, we're kind of weighting it in terms of the worst thing.
mm,
And then the final question is, what's the best thing that would happen if I do take action? And so
mm.
sometimes then we're not mired down in these lists and trying to weight things or color code them. Guilty. I've done that.
Yep.
But really highlighting the best and the worst kind of really brings it to the forefront of what you're thinking you might want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have other things that you recommend people do as they're navigating this ambivalence with a
Mm.
decision?
Yeah, yeah. I love that strategy of highlighting the best and the worst. And normalizing that like this idea that sometimes people, especially when we're ambivalent, like we might ruminate, we might get stuck in
Yes.
something. And so please know that we're not saying like pros and cons lists are bad. Like sometimes you need to just write everything out and like be able to objectively look and sort. And then, Stacey's point is a fantastic one of like really pull out from either the list you have or as you're like reflecting initially, like what are the key drivers in this like worst and best column for
Mhm.
doing and not doing. I think that that's just those all of that layers together in such a meaningful, helpful way. I think I'll say my next part is my key takeaway.
Yeah, please.
That I encourage people to pull from us strategies that resonate with you, and even to pull the insight that if you're having difficulty sticking to a change, you've picked something, whether it's something we said or something in your life, because there's so many categories that you could be trying to make a change in, or considering a change in, or not yet knowing that you're considering a
Right.
change in the future, right? You might be pre-contemplative. Um, if you're having trouble sticking to a change, take that it might be a sign that you're experiencing some ambivalence. You might have felt like it was you were all in, and then you're like, oh no, maybe there's other stuff here. There's nuance here. Being kind to yourself around that and letting that be a space for you to explore what are the barriers that are coming up to this change and what are the true motivators, like when
Mhm.
you're thinking about those bests, like what are the things that really drive you to make that change, because you might have a true motivator for making that change that like trumps everything, like it outweighs everything. Or you might not, and that might be something you're learning on your journey, and so being kind to yourself wherever you are in the stages of change, because as you mentioned, like there's lapse and relapse as part of that. Like as human beings, we're not perfect at sticking to change, like being kind to yourself in that. So that those would be my like key takeaways from our discussion. What might you build on?
I again loving the idea of being kind to ourselves. We are so hard on ourselves and showing each other and ourselves some grace and patience. And really maybe rather than judging or beating yourself up if you're feeling ambivalent or struggling, is to change that into curiosity and just sort of notice, okay, wow, I thought this was going to be easy or a no-brainer. And I'm realizing it's not that clear to me. And
Mm,
so taking a step back, and whether you do that by writing down, thinking, whatever works for you, and notice and maybe even look where you are in your stages of change, um, but staying curious and not judgmental, to quote Ted Lasso, one of my
mm.
favorite shows. Um, and actually, it's Walt Whitman. I stand corrected, quoted by Ted Lasso.
Got it.
So yeah, so be curious, not judgmental. And really take your time, particularly when they're big decisions.
Mm. Yeah, and you just did a remarkable demonstration of being kind to yourself, right? Like naming that we're human and rolling with that and being kind. I respect that and want to like highlight
Oh,
that
thank you.
we are humans and like for our listeners, like we want to model we're not perfect. Like we want you all to come to these conversations with an open mind of kindness and generosity for yourself and for others, and to take away what feels helpful. So hopefully you've taken away some great like nuggets from today. And please comment, like, subscribe, submit questions to us on our social media, and we hope to see you in future episodes.
Great.